Welcome to Clap Back Get the Facts podcast, where we are providing you with the information you need to know about what's politically impacting Black women across the country. In a world filled with mis and disinformation, we provide you with the real. If you're a Black woman, representing Black women, or in the community with Black women, we are here to clap back and give you the facts. Thank you for joining Season 2, Episode 4, Social Media as Town Crier for the Play King and the Play King mini-series. We will be sharing the facts and dropping gems. So let's get ready to clap back at the facts.
All right. Hello. Welcome back. My name's Holly Holiday, and I am the president of Sisters Lead, Sisters Vote. And we are here to clap back and get the facts. And listen, as the intro suggested, you've noticed we made a little bit of a change. We're going to be talking about all things related to the Play King. Yes, that's what we have nicknamed our current top administrator. His name is Donald Trump. But on this podcast, we're going to refer to him as the Play King because we don't like to mince words, and we want to make sure that folks understand that he is not operating within the law, within the duties, or let's face it, within the values of the American presidency as we have seen it played out for the last 100+ years. No, he is trying to take us from a democracy to an oligarchy, and perhaps even in a very fascist way. And so today is the first of a couple of series that we're going to be doing that examine all the ways in which this administration, and particularly its chief administrator, is operating as the Play King. So today, social media as the town crier. One of the main things that we see when you are looking at taking a country from being a democracy to an oligarchy is they start to control the information. Now, as you know, this entire podcast was actually started because we've been seeing the trend, and let's face it, the unfortunate influence of mis and disinformation for almost 10 years now, and particularly in the social media sphere. Well, now under this administration, it has gone from not just a disinformation or misinformation to just straight up propaganda. And the censorship, particularly the censorship, let's be honest, of conservative media, where they don't even criticize each other. They are strictly focused on the criticism of progressives and Democrats. We are also starting to see that those voices are even being taken off the air so that our ability to have even a balanced media perspective is dwindling. Well, you already know what time it is. You know we're going to have a lively discussion about that. We want to make sure that you understand exactly all of the ways in which this is playing out. And one of the key ways that it's playing out is through social media, because let's face it, who's watching broadcast anymore? I know I only watch it if somebody calls me and says, hey, your friend is on. You may want to check her out. Otherwise, or else I will say I did watch Cory Booker, though. Cory Booker was the man. I did watch him. He made me go to broadcast again. But he done, and so am I for the moment. Let's bring up our co-host to get this party started and to talk about all the ways that the Play King is playing with us, especially around our media. Let's start with our good sister, Simone Henderson, and of course, our attorney with the mostest, Chantel Mullen. Hey, y'all. Hey. Well, I know especially Chantel, who is all in these social media streets, who stay in the social media streets, that both of you all have a lot to say about this. And we know that the social media streets in this day and age really have become the tool for both how we bring people together, but frankly, they're also the tool for how this descent into oligarchy is starting. In other words, the Play King is all up and through, and what do we do to make sure that we do not allow his restriction of information, and let's just call it what it is, straight up propaganda, overwhelm us to the point that we forget that we have power. I got to start with this. What do you think? What do you think it means? What impact do you think it really has on our community when we are just barraged with this type of censorship and propaganda all the time? Because I think people think, hey, I don't have to listen to that or I can turn it off. But what are we really seeing? What are the impacts of this?
You know, what I think is, I think we become, and we know we've talked about it before, people get desensitized to it. And what I think becomes an issue that leads with that is that they're allowed to gain traction while we're ignoring the tomfoolery. We're looking at it and we're saying it's not worth my time, it's not worth my day. And part of it is to hit us with so much information that we do choose to tune things out. And that's when they can move things along because we've turned an eye to it. Or we sit back and we look at it and we say they sound so absurd, they can't possibly be enacted, and they use that as well as like, oh, well, I just thought he was joking. And I think something that we've seen in the last week or two that we have to keep our eye on is the fact that we have the National Press Secretary saying, and as well as, you know, his advocates going on the news saying, oh, you all are taking the president's word too literal. When he says he's going to run for a third term, you all are taking him too literal. You know he's just joking. So the ability to downplay it as though we should not take it seriously, when we see that his administration so far has been absolutely dialed into what they said that they were going to do in Project 2025.
I mean, and honestly, why do we have to have a reference guide to know when the president is joking and when the president is serious? Why are we even using the over? Chantel, your thoughts?
Well, yeah. And, you know, I agree with Simone that we really are barraged with everything. And it's become very difficult for people to tell when something is true and when something is not. I think we see so much stuff on the internet, and people think, oh, that's a joke. It can't be true.
Mhm.
But what it does is it really does desensitize us. It also has created silos of information because we tend to think of all of us are on the internet. We are, but we're not all in the same spaces. And so there are some spaces where groups um, are gathering together and things are proliferating. It's where all of these conspiracy theories are. We see people now who are really fact resistant. It doesn't matter what you show them. It doesn't matter what you tell them. They just refuse to believe it. They have heard so much conspiracy theories. It has been ingrained in them because their algorithm is feeding this to them 24/7 every time they're on the internet. And there was a recent study that came out that showed who is dominating in terms of the internet. And it is right-wing podcasters. It is right-wing media. You know, I think back to something that people used to, that they laughed it off and said, you know what? She's just talking crazy. Remember when Hillary Clinton said there's a vast right-wing conspiracy? That's Project 2025. All of the conservative groups have gotten together. They had a plan. They've taken over the media. They've wanted to take over every agency. They are targeting people through social media. You know, Hillary was right, y'all. There is a vast right-wing conspiracy.
I mean, and you really only have to look at I've been working with content creators. Of course, we're content creators. I feel like really at this point, everybody's a content creator of some sort.
Everybody.
And I think that's great. But one of the things that people who are more progressive in their content have been looking at is the conservative model. And so I want to be clear what the conservative model looks like. Yes, they are paying for content, which I think is great. And certainly if you are a content creator, especially if you're a content creator with a large following, that may appeal to you. You know, that may be something that you wish we were doing on the left or in progressive spaces is that we were being more intentional about paying content creators for creating content. But that payment comes at a cost. And the cost is that they are only allowed to really put out propaganda speech. They're not allowed to be critical of their own people or party or certainly the president unless they are aligning with progressives or operating in disagreement to the propaganda lie. Now, I'm not saying that's the only funding model, but I think we have to be really clear that when we start to compare ourselves to the right, we do need to remind ourselves they're not like us. And the ways in which they are building is not based on a First Amendment freedom, but based on creating a propaganda style communications channel. We haven't quite got to a federal communications blackout yet, but it sure does feel like we're headed that way.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. Yes. I go back to a few weeks into the administration when they began kicking out journalists from different news outlets that weren't in alignment or that would not cover what they were seeing in a way that he deemed fair to him. And I also think about, I'm still on X or Twitter, and I think
Me too.
the inability to not mute Elon Musk's tweets without having to pay is another level of the propaganda. I think when
Listen,
you
talk
see
about
that
it.
you see him tweeting or quoting tweets that amplify the mis and disinformation and that are pushing particular agendas, that you then have their talkers on TV, on mainstream media saying it's just a joke, but you have Elon Musk, Donald Trump's puppet, on Twitter, then amplifying it as though it is the real next step. So I think that only further perpetuates the fact that no, none of it's a joke. They are very much serious about what they're saying. And so
and it explains in many cases why mis and disinformation is getting harder. You know,
and I think one thing that also makes it hard is we're not talking to real people.
let's talk about that. Oh my gosh.
And because if you're on social media, you have interacted with a bot.
Yep.
And now the next level is we have AI. And
Not to talk bad about my Chat GPT girl, though. We're gonna fight.
Well, you know what? AI is like anything. It is not inherently good or bad. It takes on the personality of the people who are using it. And there's, anything can be good or bad. I mean, think about water. We need water, the rain to grow the crops, but too much water, you got a flood. You can be thirsty, but if you drink too much water, you can get water toxicity, and you could die from that too. So too much of anything can turn one way or the other. But we now have the proliferation of AI. We don't know if the people in the videos are actually people, or are they personifications of people, or are they just made up people? They have the ability to take the bots to the next level because they can hold a conversation. It can learn from your conversation and be holding a conversation as if if you're talking to a human. And a lot of people don't have the wherewithal that they are engaging in bot or with someone who's not with something that is not a human. And it has the ability to push messaging at a rate that wouldn't happen normally. So I think there's there's a natural amplification
Mm-hmm.
So like if we think about Cory Booker's speech, when he started at 7 o'clock, there was just a couple of people saying, oh, hey, Cory's over there talking.
Yeah.
But as we started to naturally amplify it, more people learned.
Yeah.
But with the level of propaganda we are seeing, I mean, we've got folks telling us, I don't care what the economics is, you're going to have to deal with a little bit of pain. When the message in the election was, I'm going to make prices go down. Oh, don't you worry about it. They've literally convinced a whole swath of America that tariffs are good, that you aren't going to pay for them. It is going to be good for the economy when tariffs are some of the most studied things.
Yeah.
But people are fact resistant. So they're able to tell them up is down, blue is green, red is white. And the question becomes, how do you really address that? Because you can't really have a conversation or a starting point if you have no place of common belief.
Yeah.
Or you're not even open
ladies,
to hearing anything. Go ahead, Simone.
I was going to say, I have a question that comes up for the both of y'all how are we seeing this propaganda and censorship play out in terms of the federal government being able to function, the functionality of it all in these first couple of weeks?
Oh my goodness. Well, let's start with the whole presidential memo / executive order / presidential decision making. I mean, you need a freaking law degree even to distinguish between which form of propaganda he will be using to even cause his chaos. And many of them are illegal. Some of them are well outside his authority, and all of them, frankly, are disruptive. I challenged myself to just look through and see if there was anything that would be, beneficial, helpful. Nothing. Everything is an agent of chaos. Some of it is illegal, like I said. And so I think we have to start there. And then from there, the little play kings minions continue in their roles as secretaries and their roles as directors to continue to amplify ways and come up with new creative other ways that they continue to kind of tamp down. I think the hardest thing, though, especially as we think about it from a social media standpoint, I'm sure we'll have some future series that talks more specifically about the orders themselves, but putting it in the social media bucket in particular, everything is getting reduced. I mean, he's writing executive orders that have 14 parts that are getting reduced to, a few sentences. I like Chantel's position, Chantel's mention specifically about, oh, darn it, I lost my thought. Go ahead, Chantel Simone. I'm going to come back to you. I literally lost my thought right there.
Well, and while Holly was talking, something else kind of came to mind as we talk about this administration. We may want to talk about the fact that they are using the federal government as a prop. And, and they are using the money. So, I want to make X look good so I can fly this jet. It doesn't matter what the cost is.
Oh,
I can fly this jet. They've got, if you look, they have.
We got Teslas lined up outside on the South Lawn.
Right. They've got
Why we do that?
Rolling with them. So
that's what I was going to
say. It's a constant production, and you're not seeing the work. The economy is bad. I mean, the economy is bad because remember, the whole thing was Trump is going to be better for the economy. I don't know if you looked at your 401k. The economy is bad. Stocks are down. They're rolling off tariffs. People are going into bankruptcy. Consumer Confidence is down. We just came out of having a historic economy recovery from a national pandemic. And now we are sinking quickly back into the hole in what, 72 days? I mean, seriously. But you can constantly drive and change the narrative when you have the bully pulpit of the presidency. And you can take and have everybody producing and pushing out content that is foolishness all day. So it is very hard for people to wrap their head around what is going on, and that is by intent.
Yeah, because everything's
Yes.
going on. Simone, I got to know from you specifically, like a big target in this is young people, because as we said earlier, you know, if we can get people to believe that this is the only way, and they become inoculated against the truth, where they don't even care anymore about the facts, that's where they're trying to get young people to. Is it working? What are your peers saying?
You know, I would say yes and no. I would probably have a different answer before the election than I do right now. I think that the inoculation to desensitize and to inoculate, desensitize, to make things seem less realistic than they are. I would say that I think that worked for a large portion of my age demographic in terms of turnout, enthusiasm, the ability to see that there was a clear difference and that change was different, and not just saying, well, the economy's here and he's saying it's going to get so much better under him. Okay. And now, right now, my peers are like, Beyonce, please, I want to come see. I want to throw my Levi's, but don't you see the economy? And all I saw on my social media was everything is too much of a joke for us to be making April Fool's jokes this year. That is where I think I'm seeing people before they're 30 selling, you know, in high school. Y'all need to start thinking about how y'all gonna save your money. Those weren't conversations that were being had prior to the election. That's not the conversation that we were having. And so I think impact is being felt. Their pockets are being felt. And so it is turning the knob that's really making you see there's a stark difference.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I'm gonna piggyback off of what Simone said, and I'm gonna take it a different way.
Okay.
No, slightly different direction. I think one of the constant refrains that we hear, or that we heard leading up to the election, is both sides are the same. Both sides are the same. What we have a clear demonstration of at this point is both sides are not the same, and they govern in very different ways. And I think some people are starting to realize that. Now, do I think everybody's going to realize that? No.
Right.
I'm pretty clear, because again, we have a group that is fact resistant. It does not matter what you say, what you do, what you show them, because Trump's very terrible economy, they will still say is better than the Biden economy. And they will still sit and say, I'm going to give Trump an opportunity, even though before he is tanking a whole economy again. He is a man who bankrupted a casino, which is a money-making machine.
Right.
So
I just want to make sure that we're connecting that also, though, to the way he's using social media, right?
Right.
Because that is his vehicle of choice to spread. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, but that's what, no, because you're getting there. because what I'm saying is the constant refrain is both sides are the same. That is the messaging. It's those kinds of messages that get ingrained in the lexicon,
Mm-hmm.
that get ingrained in people's thinking. So
Mm-hmm.
as they're making choices or choosing not to make a choice, like there is no difference. So
Yeah.
there is no use in me showing up. Nothing will change if I don't if I don't go. And so I think that that is how that messaging gets ingrained into social media,
Okay.
because it's constantly repeated. If you go in, if you are looking at certain streams of conversation, there are people jumping in saying, hey, nothing will change, you don't have to vote, it's going to be okay. Those are some of the very pernicious ways that's so used, and it's used to depress outcome, because there's some messages that are sent to make people go vote. There are some messages sent to make people stay home.
Listen.
And there's a lot of
So,
messaging around that stay home.
yeah.
Lots of messaging around that stay home.
Yes, indeed. All right. Simone was frozen, but she's back with us. Did you want to weigh in on that?
Yeah, I think very much to Chantel's point, something that we have to be aware of as we move forward is that this desensitization, is that a word? No, I almost made something up on the spot. You see, I started and I was like, don't finish it. Don't finish
Don't
it.
even go there. Get you a real word, girl. Although I'm not mad if you make up a good one.
It wasn't gonna be. It was not. It wasn't gonna make the mark. He's gonna be like, stop, cut it out. I think very much to Shay's point, that we have to look forward to in not only 2026 and 2028 is that if we're only 72 days in and people are worn out, tired, and it seems like there are portions of the demographic that are making 180 switches to where their life is, and the analysis that they may have had just a few months ago, that's done a complete 180. Where will it be by 2026? Where will it be by 2028 in terms of mobilization, turnout, the ability to communicate and communicate effectively across all platforms, and social media, as we see that, like you've mentioned several times, Holly, an oligarchy, as these billionaires continue to buy up and create different platforms and social media platforms, then just how much tighter is it going to get for us to be able to push through?
Absolutely. And so listen, I want to wrap up here, but I want folks to know that there's stuff they can do. And the reality is that you can no longer be a lazy consumer of media. So, question is, and I want to get Simone here real quick. What do you tell people to consume now?
Clap back, get the facts.
Yes, indeed. Period.
That's what I tell the consumer. Clap back, get the facts. There we go.
Yes, indeed. I love it.
No, what I tell them to consume now is, I think what we see is that we have a lot of organizations that are stepping up, that are trying new things to break through, that are going back to be community centered. So I would say some of these organizations that, people, especially my age, might want to regulate to just 1960s, the 70s, the 80s, they are still here, and their purpose has been renewed now more than ever to ensure that our community, Black women, communities that Black women serve, have points to get access to information. So I would say go to those organizations, follow them on social media. They are pushing out the information, they are uplifting the truth. And I think that those are places that we really have to turn to.
All right, Chantel, what's your solution to these folks?
Well, one of the things that I like to tell people to do is read more news than you watch.
Mm.
A lot of the shows on TV are opinion pieces. It's not really a lot of hard, straight news anymore. The other thing I tell folks is to check your algorithm. A lot of us, we get on social media and we'll just aimlessly scroll. Look at this and we look at this. Well, the algorithm is designed to give you more of what you look at. So if you look at foolishness all day, you will get foolishness. If you entertain one conspiracy theory, your timeline will be filled with conspiracy theories. So, one of the things that I've tried to work with is folks will say, well, I'm not seeing X, Y, and Z do anything. And I'm like, but are you following X, Y, and Z? Are you intentionally bringing that content into your feed? And are you intentionally excluding content out of your feed? So for example, I don't post like whenever you have like any of the big social media stuff, I don't post on any of that. I may read it in my news app, but I don't bring it onto my social media feed because what I know is I'll get more of it and continued of it. So like I've followed like all politicians. I've followed these organizations. I follow these news groups and I amplify and push those things so that the algorithm brings me more.
Yeah.
And so I can see what folks are doing because it's actually in my algorithm. But there are some folks who don't have any of that in their algorithm. So you have got to make your algorithm bring you information. Because if not, it'll just bring you, it'll bring you foolishness. I say the algorithm is like fast food and vegetables.
Child, fast food.
Most of us will roll up on some fat in a minute, and then we looking like, oh, the doctor said I need more vegetables. You have to be intentional if you want to have vegetables in your diet.
Yeah,
but it's really easy to get fast food.
It is, and I hate that, but I do want to acknowledge that I hate that it has to be hard. But the reality is that finding the truth is more challenging today than it has ever been. And so I think also, in addition to identifying a list of trusted sources that you regularly go to, because I'm going to be honest, if y'all are like me, you're not about to stop looking at the foolishness because clickbait is real and we all take it occasionally. And some of us more than not. And I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know what Chantel talking about because she the first one to send me some clickbait almost every day. She done found at least one damn thing that she's like, girl, did you see this foolishness? So we get it. And I don't think that we need to necessarily eliminate McDonald's French fries from your diet, but let's overindulge in a salad and vegetables and healthy foods every now and again as it relates to social media. And I think for everyone, I would advise these things. So first and foremost, get your core list of 10 people that you're going to check in on a regular basis. For me, it's people like Keith Boykins. It's people like Don Lemon. It's people like Joy-Ann Reid. I have now recently added State of the People since I've been involved with that effort. It is people like Native Land Pod, Angela Rye, and Tiffany Cross. It is journalists that I trust and follow. I also listen to people, yes, even people who are not Black. I do have a few of those, like Robert Wright. I love him. I think he's pithy. I appreciate the facts that he brings. I follow people like Terrence Woodbury and Cornell Belcher. There are outlets that I tend to follow more than others, like Roland Martin, for instance. I follow Roland Martin. I look at things that Dr. Carr is talking about. He usually brings in a good historical perspective. So get your list of 10 people, 10 outlets, 10 sources, let's say, that every day you're just going to check in on them. This doesn't mean your algorithm becomes all the things, but at least it helps to make it a little bit easier for you to find a carrot every now and again. The other thing is check the places that you are seeking stuff. You know, I am still on X, but I don't go there very often. I'm on X primarily because that's where media still is predominantly, and based on the work that I do, it's important for me to track what media is doing. But I spend a lot more time now on Blue Sky. I spend a lot more time now on Substack. I have even started looking at Patreon, and to be honest with you, I'm exploring options of Black streaming services that will just host the kind of content that I want to see all the time. And the reality is that I'm willing to pay, a couple bucks a month in order to have exposure to things that I think are good for my community. So I love this fast food versus vegetable argument, because this is about making choices that are good for your family and good for your community. And it sounds like media is another place where we need to be intentional about our choices.
We do. We definitely do. They do. I mean, I love a good drama as well. I tell folk
Oh, we know.
I'm a blog OG. Look, I am on Lipstick Alley. I pop over there and I still read that. I pop over and I read Gala Alert.
I haven't read this stuff in a million years.
Oh, girl, I still go over there and see what the people doing. I don't post that much, but it gives you a pulse. But what I'm seeing there are the same things that I'm seeing everywhere else. There are bots.
Yeah.
There is AI. It's everywhere. It's
Give us your
there's
list of some of the
everywhere.
sources that you check in on every day, and so folks know what to look at, because I think that's part of it too. So who are you reading every day that you would advise others to check out?
You know what? Who I really think has stepped up to the moment, and we need to amplify him more, is Keith Boykin.
Yes.
I have really, brother man is doing it.
I love
What
Keith.
What I also have been doing is following local Black journalists and papers. So, like, something that I read almost every day is Capital B from Atlanta, Georgia. I get and what I do is I actually add myself to their mailing list. So when they mail out, I'm looking at that newsletter, but I also follow them on social media. So when they post, I can go and look at that. So, I'm following Black journalists. So, Roland Martin pops up in my feed. Joyanne is still popping up in my feed. So, and I follow them on Substack. I try to follow them on multiple platforms so that I can see. Because what also happens is they tend to engage with higher quality. So I love Sherilyn Eiffel. She posts a lot of really good stuff. Now, I also like Robert Wright. However, I still had to jump in Robert's comments sometimes and say, now, Robert, I'm gonna need you to kind of get it together over here. When he's on his economic tip, he is top notch. But sometimes he will jump into some other things, and I have to just kind of look at him like, I'm gonna need you to do a little bit better, bro. So, but the fact that you can engage with people, I do not watch, but I still read Fox News, and I'm a famous comment creeper. I will read an article, but then I go to the comments to see how people are reacting to it. And one of the things that I've noticed is there's a little bit more pushback in the Fox News comments.
Okay. Good to know.
So,
Good to know.
it's not a lot, but it's
Well, I'll take it. I mean, listen, everybody has their poison, and I get it. I'm not a huge purveyor of the comments so much, but that's why I have friends like you, so you can tell me what's going on. We ain't all got to do all the things. Great list, great list, great list. So, as we close out this segment, let me just say, I think it's important. I think it's important for people to get their list of 10, at least, folks that you check in on. I think it is important for people to consume media outside of Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Look at Substack, look at Blue Sky, Patreon, find you or even actual websites. I know that sounds insane during this time, but look at Medium, look at the Griot, look at the Root, certain things like that. Of course, we're fortunate that Roland Martin has a bunch of different platforms that you can find him on, and others are starting to develop their own platforms as well.
Yes.
But I try to find things off social media as much as possible. There's that in-between space between broadcast and newspapers, hard copy newspapers, and social media, which is like the streaming space. Delve into that. There's really good content there, and it is not subject to all the algorithms. And then finally, share. When you find something good, share it with a friend. We can inoculate our community too in a good way so that they have real facts and real information and are not prone to the mis and disinformation of conservatives and crazies, so that we can begin to protect our democracy. Key to democracy is a healthy debate amongst its citizens and its ability to criticize and compliment its own government and its own political establishment. If we lose that, we might as well be China. That's my thought. So with that, it's the little head tilt. Yes. All right. And with that, we close out another episode of Clapback Get the Facts. We've been talking about the Play King. We got more stuff on this Play King coming up. Guard your social media, sisters, because that is one space that you might be vulnerable. Seal those holes, fill those cracks, and make sure that you control your algorithm and your algorithm doesn't control you. Till next time.
That part.
Thank you for joining us here on Clapback Get the Facts podcast. We hope that you're leaving feeling more informed and ready to provide others with the facts. We would love to hear your biggest takeaways from this episode, so post the show on your Instagram story and tag us at Sisters Lead. Also, if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe so you'll never miss an episode. And while you're at it, please leave a review so others can get some sense of the facts that we're providing. Finally, if you would like to learn more about local resources and other projects we're working on, go to sistersleadsistersvote.org.